Have you ever woken up utterly exhausted? Not just 5 more minutes tired, but a profound weariness deep in your bones, where opening your eyes feels like a burden? You've slept 7, 8, even 9 hours, yet a subtle offness lingers, your body present, but your spirit absent. For years, that was my reality. It wasn't burnout, depression, or insomnia. It was a quieter, more insidious form of exhaustion. One I couldn't articulate and no one seemed to grasp. Sleep earlier, they'd suggest. Try melatonin. Or worse, maybe you're just lazy. But I knew instinctively that this wasn't about sloth. It was about a fundamental disconnect from myself, from my natural rhythms, from the very blueprint of my own body. What I failed to grasp then was this pivotal truth. Your day doesn't begin when your eyes open. It begins the evening prior. The tapestry of how you live those preceding 23 hours profoundly dictates how you greet that crucial first one. This realization was a seismic shift. I abandoned fleeting hacks and painstakingly began to reconstruct my rhythm, not with costly gadgets or trendy supplements, but with 4 deceptively simple habits that no manual had ever revealed. Yet, these habits reshaped my mornings, sharpened my focus, and, quite frankly, transformed my entire existence. This isn't a quick fix sleep solution, because you are not a machine needing a tune-up. What I truly needed was a deep reconnection to light, to time, to stillness, to movement. Individually, these habits appear unassuming, but their biological impact is nothing short of profound. By the end, you may understand that your struggle isn't a failure to rest, but rather a world subtly compelling you away from it. First, greet the light before the screen. My old mornings were a blur. Phone in hand before my feet hit the floor. A deluge of emails, messages, Instagram feeds, news, a swift descent into stress. I barely considered it. It was simply how things were done. I even convinced myself I was being productive, catching up, getting ahead, just one quick check. But I missed the profound truth. The initial input your brain receives sets the tone. The very lens through which you perceive your entire day. I was inundating it with digital noise, bypassing water, sunlight, and even my own nascent thoughts. No wonder I felt perpetually behind, forever chasing my energy. I was diving headfirst into chaos rather than gently rising from it. Then a powerful insight struck me, echoing the words of Dr. Your brain doesn't know what time it is. It knows what light tells it. A jolt of clarity. My body wasn't disoriented, it was being actively misled by the blue glow of a screen long before the sun's first touch. I decided to experiment. For just 10 minutes I resisted my phone. Instead, I gravitated toward the window or stepped outdoors, letting natural light bathe my eyes, fresh air kiss my skin. A subtle but undeniable shift occurred. My mind cleared, a sense of alignment settling in, as if my system had been patiently awaiting this ancient, primal signal. This wasn't a superficial morning hack, it was pure biology. Our bodies harbor a circadian rhythm, an intricate internal clock governing hormones, temperature, alertness, digestion, and mood. The paramount conductor of this clock? Light. Not just any light, but natural, morning light, that unique spectrum present only in the early hours post-sunrise. When this specific light penetrates your eyes, unimpeded by sunglasses or glass, it sends an unmistakable message to your brain. Daytime is here. Time to awaken. Cortisol surges beneficially, melatonin production halts, and your brain receives its green light for alertness, focus, and vitality. Conversely, if your inaugural light is artificial, your brain falters, believing it's still night, delaying your energy cascade. And if your first visual input is a flurry of notifications, red dots, and urgent messages, your nervous system doesn't gently unfurl into the day. It catapults into a state of defense. Instead of beginning in harmony, you're thrust into survival mode. This was my unwitting daily ritual. Once I severed that link, once I prioritized natural light over screens, my mornings reclaimed their serenity. No frantic rush, no immediate reactivity, just a few moments of quiet self-alignment. Sometimes I venture outside, sometimes I simply open the window, sometimes I sit, eyes closed, allowing the light to filter through. But the principle remains, I don't engage with the digital world until I've first connected with the real world. It's a minuscule adjustment with monumental impact. For now, I don't just wake up times into times the world, I wake up times with times it. And that, my friends, is an entirely different caliber of energy. Second, nourish yourself earlier than instinct suggests. Not long ago, 9:30 p.m. dinners were my norm. I'd wrap up work late, whip up a heavy meal, eat mindlessly in front of a screen, perhaps a sweet treat, then collapse into bed near midnight, convincing myself I'd earned it. Yet, every morning I'd surface foggy, heavy, as if I'd merely powered down rather than genuinely rested. My blame fell on stress, screens, even my mattress. But the true culprit remained unspoken. If your body is actively digesting while you sleep, it's not recovering, it's working overtime. This revelation struck me with force. I meticulously managed everything, times after times dinner, yet the timing of the meal itself was an unquestioned sacred cow. The underlying science is elegantly simple. Consuming food, especially a substantial or carb-rich meal, elevates your core body temperature, spikes insulin levels, and maintains a subtly accelerated heart rate. All these signals loudly proclaim to your nervous system, activity in progress. However, for truly restorative deep sleep, the kind essential for cellular repair, your body craves the antithesis, a lower temperature, stable blood sugar, and a minimal digestive load. Thus, my perceived comfort of a full stomach at night was precisely what kept my system too engaged to truly rest. I was in bed, but my body was on the clock. So, I embarked on a different path. I shifted dinner 3 hours earlier, despite the initial inconvenience, the awkwardness, the divergence from everyone else's schedule. Around 6:30 p.m., I embraced lighter meals. Less sugar, less noise. The transformation was remarkable. I began to feel naturally drowsy, not the sudden collapse of exhaustion, but a gentle, rhythmic descent into sleep, as though my body was finally syncing with an ancient, inherent cadence. The struggle to fall asleep simply vanished. I surrendered, and sleep arrived. Later, I discovered the term, chrononutrition, the study of times when times we eat, not just times what times we eat, and its profound biological impact. Research from the University of California confirms that dining within 2 hours of bedtime significantly compromises slow-wave sleep, that crucial deep phase responsible for tissue repair, hormone equilibrium, and memory consolidation, and its ramifications extend beyond sleep. Late eating disrupts melatonin production, derails your circadian rhythm, and even heightens the risk of long-term metabolic imbalances. But for me, the data was secondary to the undeniable feeling. I awoke not ravenous or bloated, but remarkably light. My dreams held greater clarity. My morning energy wasn't a forced jolt, it's simply times arrived * organically. There's something deeply primal, deeply human about eating with the sun. We weren't designed to feast under artificial glare at midnight. We were designed for alignment with light, with rhythm, with rest. I acknowledge that life's demands, work, family, social engagements, don't always facilitate this. But what if you experimented with just one earlier meal this week? What if you offered your body that quiet, anticipatory window it's been craving, not as a rigid dictate, but as an invitation to experience a profoundly different morning? Because I can attest, no supplement, no app, no breathing exercise has ever gifted me the depth of rest I feel from going to bed with nothing left to digest. Third, intentionally decelerate the evening before it accelerates you. For too long, my nights thrummed with a frenetic energy, not of loud sounds, but of incessant stimulation. Bright lights, an endless scroll of content, thoughts that refused to quiet. I deluded myself into believing I was unwinding, when in fact, I was merely revving up in softer packaging. Scrolling, watching, multitasking, all cloaked in the guise of relaxation. Blue light, glaring screens, late-night snacks, a constant barrage of input, an illusion of comfort. And then I'd wonder why sleep eluded me. Here's what no one ever taught me. Sleep isn't a switch you flick. It's a gradual descent, like the sun's slow, layered farewell to the day. Yet, we've forsaken our personal sunsets. We opt for Netflix's relentless autoplay, the urgent pull of late-night emails, or just one more scroll to feel caught up. Then, we demand our bodies power down, like inert machines. But we are not machines. We are intricate tapestries of rhythm, hormones, and gentle waves. I was crashing into sleep, a wave hitting concrete, no preparation, no graceful transition, just a jarring collision. So, I embraced a radical notion. I ceased nighttime stimulation. Not perfectly, not entirely, but deliberately. I christened 9 p.m. my soft boundary. The lights softened, the sounds muted, the tempo slowed. Overhead lights gave way to warm lamps, my laptop was closed, my phone exiled to another room, I'd put on ambient music or intentionally read something utterly unexciting. For the initial evenings, it felt strangely vacant, as if I was waiting for something to fill the newfound quiet. Then it dawned on me, the silence times was times the thing. That stillness I had so assiduously avoided was the very portal to what my body had been silently pleading for. My thoughts began to unfurl gently. My shoulders, perpetually hunched, relaxed. I started to yawn before I even reached my bed, a genuine, deep yawn I hadn't experienced in years. This transcended a mere evening checklist. It became a ritual, and that distinction matters. A routine is for productivity. A ritual is for remembering who you are. This was me remembering how to slow down. Science validates this profoundly. Studies demonstrate that cultivating a predictable wind-down pattern, even simply dimming lights and disengaging from screens, signals your body to elevate melatonin, lower heart rate, and activate the parasympathetic nervous system. In essence, your body prepares for deep repair. When you extend this tenderness, this signal, it responds with superior sleep quality, deeper rejuvenation, and a calmer awakening. For me, this habit reshaped more than just my sleep. It redefined my relationship with time. Nights ceased to be a frantic dash between dinner and collapse. They transformed into a sacred, quiet, distinctly human space, a sanctuary. Now, if I neglect this practice, I feel it acutely, not just in my sleep quality, but in my very demeanor the following day. I'm more reactive, less clear, as if an internal switch remains stubbornly on. So if your evenings have felt rushed, noisy, or fragmented, perhaps the answer isn't more sleep, but simply times less of everything else, asterisk. Try gifting yourself a sliver of night before the night takes you, and observe the profound gift your body returns. Fourth, embrace movement before the world rushes you. My past mornings were a battleground, a fight-or-flight initiation. Eyes open, phone gripped, mind racing. Before my feet had even met the floor, I was already perceived as behind, on messages, on time, on life itself. This subtle yet insidious pattern meant my entire day became a series of reactions rather than a deliberate rhythm. I resolved to change it. Not with a strenuous workout or a rigid routine, but with something far simpler. Early, gentle, intentional movement. Within 30 minutes of waking, I committed to time something, asterisk, anything that reconnected me to my body. Sometimes it was a slow stretch as the kettle boiled. Sometimes a directionless walk outdoors, focusing only on my breath. Other times, just 5 minutes of ambient music, eyes closed, swaying freely as if no one were watching because no one was. And that made all the difference. For here's the magic of movement. It signals to your brain, we are awake now. Not merely surviving, not just scrolling, but fully, vibrantly alive. Blood begins to circulate, your nervous system gently shifts gears, and your circadian rhythm clicks into place, like a compass finally finding its true north. Crucially, you cease passively times waiting times for energy. You actively times generate times it. Prior to this, my mornings were shrouded in a persistent fog. I'd stare blankly at screens, impatiently awaiting caffeine's jolt, hoping my brain might boot up by noon. But with the introduction of movement, a profound shift occurred. Not just physically, but mentally. I felt more anchored, more present, as though I was co-creating the day with life itself, rather than merely waiting for life to dictate my mood. And it demands so little. No gym membership, no sweat, not even a burst of motivation is required. You simply need to whisper to your body, hey, we're here. Let's begin. The science, of course, supports this. Morning movement naturally boosts dopamine and serotonin, neurochemicals vital for regulating focus and mood throughout the day. It also gently elevates core body temperature, fortifying your circadian rhythm and promising deeper sleep that very night. The compounding effect is undeniable. Early movement leads to better focus, reduced stress, a calmer evening, more profound sleep, an easier awakening, a virtuous cycle. Momentum isn't built through brute force, but through deliberate rhythm. I'll be honest, There are still mornings when the allure of a warm bed is potent, when the world feels too heavy, and I long to remain curled up, pretending it's Sunday forever. Yet, I move anyway, not out of obligation, but because I know what awaits beyond that initial step. A spark of clarity, a touch of lightness, concrete proof that I possess the agency to choose how my day begins. This habit is, at its core, a choice to initiate times yourself, times before the world initiates, times you asterisk. A choice to truly arise, not just physically, but intentionally. For how you begin reverberates, and a slow, grounded start possesses an uncanny power to reshape everything that follows. You are not broken, you are simply out of rhythm. There are those who greet the day with innate readiness, no lingering fog, no dread, no internal battle. For much of my adult life, I yearned to understand that feeling, having accepted morning fatigue as my default, a not a morning person badge I wore with resignation. But the profound truth was this: I was not broken, merely misaligned. And what society rarely reveals is that the world we inhabit actively trains us to stray from our natural rhythms. We consume light at unnatural hours, stare at screens when darkness should reign. We awaken to cacophony, drift to sleep amidst noise. We rush, we react, we forget to simply breathe. Gradually, we lose our internal compass, deaf to the body's persistent whispers. I'm not lazy, I'm tired. I don't need more caffeine. I need peace. I don't need to be fixed, I need to be felt. These 4 habits weren't a fix, they were a homecoming. A journey back to myself, to a profound stillness, to sleep that genuinely restores rather than merely pauses. And the transformation wasn't limited to how I slept. It encompassed how I awakened. Clearer, more inherently human, utterly in sync. If you too have been waking up tired, perhaps the answer isn't solely in the act of sleeping, but in the deeper rhythm beneath it. And maybe, just maybe, you are ready to rediscover that melody. Not to optimize, not to hustle harder, but because a whole and vibrant version of you awaits, just beyond these simple choices. A few small acts in the quiet dark, designed to rekindle your inner light. This journey isn't about pursuing an unattainable perfection. It's about remembering, one habit at a time, the profound sensation of waking up as your truest self. No pressure, no guilt, just the gentle unfolding of your own inherent rhythm.